So she's never once been heard uttering one word considered bad her entire life. So forget sending people to terror groups, due to which my dad, the greedy framer, is now banned from multiple countries in the world, including the US and England, due to the fact that the person he sent to terror groups was a government informant. I informed the government about witnessing this with my own very eyes in the year 2011, and they literally just push that aside as being a lie. Well, now it's no longer a lie, now is it? My dad, the greedy framer, obviously was doing this for years before 2011, and the person that he sent to a terror group was a government informant, due to which he is now banned in the US and England. He cannot go to either one of these countries. Not only this, you also have the FBI that would literally follow my dad, the greedy framer, around every single time he would come over to the US before. And the FBI would be forced to go and meet with Ibrahim's envious mother, and Ibrahim's envious mother would literally tell the FBI, get out of my property, you're harassing me, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So basically, yes, this is a history that my dad, the greedy framer, has. He is a terrorist, he's a bad person, and due to which he is banned from the US and England. He cannot go to either one of those countries now. Whereas my mother's not banned from any country in the world. She's never heard uttering one word considered bad her entire life. Forget yelling at people who would wish her a Happy New Year. She loves people that are Jewish, and she loves welcoming people of other faiths as being her daughter-in-law. She's a very loving individual who loves people of every race, religion, ethnicity, and law enforcement will testify to the courts that my mother has taught me nothing but love while she was being washed by law enforcement since I was an 11-year-old child, almost a quarter century ago, 25 years ago. She's taught me nothing but love, due to which when I would meet people that would be Christians or Jewish or Orthodox Jewish people with long beards, and I had a brain scanner attached to my brain, inside my heart, I had nothing but love for them, the utmost level of love and respect, just like how my mother had raised me to be like. Yeah. Except for this, you also have except for this, you also have the fact that she's never been heard uttering one word considered bad her entire life. I'm sorry, they just drugged me. Yeah. And so, yeah, comparing this history of my mother's to my dad, the greedy framer, is absolutely incomparable. You cannot even compare these two histories together. My dad, the greedy framer, has had a history of violence where, as a child, I would see him beating my mother, as she described from the conversation from Russia, and then laughing about it, being happy about the fact that my mother was in pain. He then sent her over back to her home country, then divorced her and left her literally over there, really badly treated throughout her entire life. And now finally, when the day has come for her to see good days up ahead with my brain savant and my brain savant money that artificial intelligence has promised everyone in the world, my dad, the greedy framer, is now enviously and greedily trying to either lock it up with false testimonies. You have to understand and look back at the level of lies that my dad, the greedy framer, made in the entire month of January, where the lies were so aggressively made that it wouldn't give me a life sentence. It would have given me a death sentence, only to make sure that I would die and my mother would not get any of the brain savant money, only for us to find out that those were confessed lies to the government informant before November 20th. This is how he makes these lies. Right now, my dad, the greedy framer, is calling Ibrahim's envious mother to say that she betrayed him. Why is he saying this? He's saying this due to the fact that Ibrahim's envious mother basically let the government informant know that all they had were lies at the first thing, but she also let the government informant know that the early January lies were pre-planned lies that she and my dad, the greedy framer, had planned out from before to be made against me. which means that right now my dad has no tricks up his sleeves, no lies that he could aggressively make in court, claiming that these are lies that wants to try to make against me. The other thing that you have to remember is the fact that my mother had a forced necessity as a single mother, like how she said on August the 11th at 7:30 p.m. in my car, where she clearly talked about the PAL Center and the day when I was a 9-year-old child, 27 years ago. She took me there and she signed me up over there for those nice police officers to adult supervise me as a child. No parent does that for their child unless if they really need a membership like that. They would not do something of that certain nature for their child unless if they really needed their child to be adult supervised by someone for free. Clearly proving from facts and evidences that this was definitely something that we definitely obviously really needed. Now, the thing about it is just the fact that if I was adult supervised by one of law enforcement's own BFFs like Uncle Joey, whom law enforcement have been running sex schemes with since the year 2001, you have to understand the fact that it could only be something that could be said that's bad, not something done that's bad. Therefore, there was never any crimes committed around me as a child, whereas with my dad, the Greedy Framer, in the year 2011, that was definitely a crime. I witnessed it. He was encouraging people to go join terror groups, due to which now he is banned from the US and England due to what he was doing. It was extremely dangerous what he was doing, and he sent someone to a terror group who was a government informant. Now, the thing you have to understand is some things I know for a fact, like the notion that I knew some things you could just add 1 + 1 = 2, and you know this for a fact. If you see someone doing this and they are banned, then that means this is the reason they're banned. There was a government informant, and that the government informant was the person that was sent to the terror group, obviously. And it turns out I wasn't lying after all. Other thing is, the courts can ask law enforcement themselves, and law enforcement will tell the courts that there's absolutely no one who told me that the government informant was told that the early January lies were confessed lies, or that the first thing that the government informant asked Ibrahim's envious mother was if she had anything but lies against me, and she was given an entire day. These are obvious facts that have had to occur, and these are things that absolutely just definitely did occur, proving from facts and evidences that these people are full of lies and nothing else. Now, the thing about me being adult supervised by one of law enforcement's BFFs, like Uncle Joey as a child, is the fact that it could only be anything bad that was said, nothing done, like what my dad, the Greedy Framer, was committing as a crime, sending people to go join terror groups, out of which some of them ended up being government informants, due to which now he is a dangerous man who is banned from the US and England. And if you still don't believe me, you have to check back at the records, where the records will clearly show that every single time my dad, the Greedy Framer, came over to the US, he had to be followed around by the FBI, who would go ask Ibrahim's envious mother if why this man was even coming to the US. This kind of a waste of time, money, and government resources is not spent on just anyone. It's spent on people that are obviously sending people and encouraging them to go join terror groups, and they're raising alarms all over the world, due to which he's obviously banned from coming over to the US and England now. So basically, yes. Now, the thing about it is just the fact that the thing that he can only argue is that, oh, such and such person could have said something bad around Hassan as a child. First thing you have to remember is my dad, the Greedy Framer, is a verified liar. He absolutely begged law enforcement and his Framer sisters to lie or fabricate false testimony against me on November 20th that created so much mass panic and chaos that it caused every news anchor to not be able to smile on live TV after November 20th. He lied so much throughout the entire month of January, even after getting caught on November 20th and getting kicked out of the witness stand December 29th. 2025 at 1:27 p.m. He lied so much the entire month of January, so aggressively and so cunningly, that he almost gave me a life death sentence, not a life sentence, a death sentence. This is how much lying he does. Early April, he abused everyone in the courtroom while lying, exaggerating false testimonies against me. Every single thing he said in early April, after I refused to commit incest with his sisters in exchange for illegal assurance of money or to accept any of his millions of euros of illegal assurance of money, he lied so aggressively in early April 2026 while abusing everyone in the courtroom only because all his statements were being found as flaws, and he would just be like, twisting my words, and then he would start abusing everyone in the courtroom. That every single statement was found to be a complete and total lie from the facts and evidences retrieved from the phone conversations retrieved in April. Now, obviously, he's going to try to exaggerate everything as much as possible. You also have his short stories where he would say that law enforcement called him while I was overseas and that I could have been a criminal if I wasn't overseas. First of all, I've never lived with him my entire life. Even when I was overseas, never even lived in the same country with him or talked to him on the phone, making it impossible for him to have had any influence or effect on my life or environment whatsoever, while I'd never even lived in the same country with him or even ever talked to him on the phone. Now, the other thing that you have to understand is the fact that he the fact that if he tries to exaggerate something that someone could have said around me as a child, you have to remember the fact that my mother could not be present there. She had me signed up at the PAL Center only due to the fact that people that are signed up at the PAL Center are single mothers working at fast food restaurants whose kids cannot afford daycare, so they're signed up at the PAL Center, which is why if I was adult supervised by any of law enforcement's own BFFs, you have to understand the fact that the law enforcement's own BFFs, it could only be something that was said, but you have to also understand the fact that my mother would never be present there because she'd be working. The other thing is, she already talked to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, only for me to be present there until I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, and after which point I was never present in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad was ever said around me ever again. Clearly proving from facts and evidences that I spent years living alone with my mother after I gained a slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, never being seen in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could ever be even remotely be said around me ever again. Clearly proving from facts and evidences the fact that even before I went overseas, for years before I went overseas, as soon as I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, my mother never let me in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could be said around me, only because it was no longer necessary. And after it was no longer necessary, I was no longer ever present in any settings where anything you remotely considered bad by one of law enforcement's own BFFs like Uncle Joey or the other ones that they run sex schemes and money fraud with, was never present in around for years before I even went overseas. And even when I was overseas, I was under my mother's custody. She was paying for my basic necessities like my food, water, transportation, and exam fees. I was only coming back to my mother's house and going back there, and in the end, after 2016, I was only going between my mother's house and living on the side of the streets. Obviously, till I got my degree in October 2019. Now my dad, the greedy farmer, found out about my brain savant, and all he does is say, my house, come to my house, come to my house, come to my house, all day, night long, like a sociopathic maniac. And he's been offering incest with his own in-laws to me all day, night long. The man is a complete total lunatic who needs some psychiatric help. But the fact of the matter is, the chances of me being present in any setting where anything remotely considered bad could be said around me, despite me never occurring after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity in life, and despite me living with my mother even after that for years and years before I went overseas, and even after I came back from overseas, or at any time in my life after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, you have to remember the fact that I spent years living with my mother alone before I even went overseas, and I was never seen in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could ever be said around me after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. Even before then, I was never ever present in a crime scene like the one from 2011 where my dad, the Grady Framer, was absolutely encouraging people to go join terror groups. If you don't believe me, ask law enforcement themselves, and they will tell you that they had to follow him around every time he would come over to the U.S. And go ask Ibrahim's envious mother why he was coming here, and she would tell the FBI that to get off of her property and that they were harassing Ibrahim's envious mother is what she would say to them. He has a long history of this behavior. He's also banned from the U.S. and England due to this behavior. He's a very aggressive individual, very dangerous man. He lies about every single thing he says, not only November 20th, also early January, all exaggerated lies said very aggressively. Early April, he abused everyone in court in early April. You can ask the people in court, they will tell you that he abused them very aggressively. This is not something you can say sorry about. Abusing people is a very bad thing to do, especially when you're lying while abusing people. And he was only abusing them due to the fact that he realized that after getting caught February 10th, and the entire month of February and March, there was no deals that I would make in terms of money. I would tell them straight out, I'm not even going to make you any fake assurances of money with you. You can send me your price tag blackmails for millions of euros. Ask me if I'm going to sleep with your sister, your wife. So disgusting. And this ugly old woman with... Please. And right now, his even in-laws, by the way, those in-laws he never took permission from before asking me. He took permission from them after asking me, and now they yell the crap out of him saying, how would you even ask me something like this? Obviously, no woman would want that. You never asked her if she was okay with sleeping with me, and he never got my okay if I wanted to sleep with her. He just called her and asked her, like, your son wants to sleep with you, or... A very deranged, psychotic individual is definitely what this man is. Definitely not a model parent, very bad behavior as well. My mother had only put me in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could be said around me due to the force and necessity of a single mother. You have this as evidence, not only due to the fact of what she said to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, but also due to the fact that she signed me up at the PAL Center, which is mainly designed for single mothers working in fast food restaurants for their children. Who can't afford daycare. So, and after I gained a slightest bit of mental maturity, I was never even remotely seen in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could be said around me ever again, despite me being with my mother for years before I went overseas or anywhere else. Even when overseas, I was under my mother's custody legally, and then, except for that, I've never even lived in the same country as my dad, the Grady Framer, or even talked to him on the phone, making it impossible for him to have had any influence on my life or environment whatsoever. Even when I was overseas, my mother was paying for my basic necessities like food, clothing, transportation, exam fees, all of that. My dad, the Grady Framer, only paid like $90 a month, and even that was like only for a little while. That was it. He never had any influence or effect on my life whatsoever. We never talked on the phone, and he never even lived in the same country as me ever, making it impossible for him to have had any influence or effect on my life or environment whatsoever. After year 2016, I've never even remotely been anywhere near anyone that he might know. I either slept on the streets near my pharmacy school or was with my mother, and that was it. And after that, I never even knew anyone that he might have known in his life. So yes, my mother made sure from the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity that I was never even remotely seen in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could be said around me, ever. And she kept her promise to law enforcement that she made when I was an 11-year-old child, making sure that from the moment I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child till this very day today, I've never even remotely been present in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could be said around me, much less a crime scene like the one that my dad, the Grady Framer, had shown the courts in 2011, where he was encouraging people to go join terror groups, which I was telling the truth on, after all, since the circus did disappear and he is banned from multiple countries. And not only that, he was followed around by the FBI only due to the fact that he did send a government informant to a terror group and he got caught doing that, which is why the FBI had to follow him around. Every time he came over to the US, they had to go talk to Ibrahim's envious mother. So these are facts and not just things that I made up. He is full of lies. Not only the things that he said about me, November 20th was a lie. Early January, he almost gave me a death sentence, exaggerating lies against me, all complete and total lies. The entire month of January, he tried his best to give me a death sentence, only to make sure that my brain savant money that he cannot get, my mother cannot get either. He almost gave me a death sentence through those lies in early January. Then he made more lies against me in April as well. But you have to remember the fact that he almost gave me a death sentence in early January, which is why he's yelling at his sister right now, because he knows for a fact that I won't make a deal for a single penny with him. And he's yelling at his sister, Ibrahim's mother, very aggressively right now, saying that she betrayed him due to her letting the government informant know that they're full of lies and nothing else, and that early January statements were all pre-planned lies from before. This is why he's yelling at Ibrahim's envious mother. He's lied about everything. He's not a medical doctor, never gave board exams anywhere in the world. If you don't believe me, ask law enforcement what the infographics incident was. He literally tried to go claim to a hospital that he was a medical doctor, only for them to find out that he's never been licensed as a doctor any country in the world. He's not even a physician's assistant. He just helps doctors out at the hospital. He doesn't do that anymore due to the fact that he never got along with these doctors that he had to work with, due to the fact that now he's getting his gambling through this trial, thinking that he's going to send me blackmail price tags of money and get illegal assurance of money, or get me to commit incest with either his sisters, his ugly old wife, or someone in his in-laws, and get illegal assurance of money from that. And right now he just got yelled the crap out by people in his in-laws because they're not willing to sleep with someone. Well, basically they don't think that this deal was even real, because it wasn't real. I never agreed to this deal in the first place. I never said I'm going to sleep with your in-laws and give you illegal assurance of money. That's disgusting. That's very perverted. After my brain savant gets freed, I get married and live off my life like that. Like, that's not normal behavior to be committing incest and giving people illegal assurance of money in exchange for it. And for some odd reason, thought that I said yes. And he went and he asked the woman, and he's like, you'll get a lot of money after Hassan's brain savant gets freed. Are you willing to sleep with Hassan? And she was just like, why would you even ask me that question? What is wrong with you? Obviously, she knows for a fact that after my brain savant gets freed, I'm obviously just going to get married over here in Maryland and not go and try to sleep with his in-laws. Like, what is wrong with this guy? But yeah, so he's full of lies. He's not a medical doctor, never has been. He lied about that. If you don't believe me, ask law enforcement what the infographics incident was. He lied about everything. That university he claims he went to in England, in Ireland, after he went there, he's never even stepped into that university, never even researched it online, just heard the name somewhere, and he used it to try to deceive the courts and lie about that. He's lied about every single thing that he said, and right now he's only after the brain savant money. He's failed at enviously locking up my brain savant to make sure that my mother cannot get the money, and now he's trying to scam the courts and forcing me to go to him to make sure that he could try to greedily get the money somewhere or another, even though I haven't even remotely been present in any settings where anything you remotely considered bad could be said around me, ever since my mother's force and necessity ended the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. And I lived with her for years before I went overseas or anywhere else. Even before then, it was only due to the force and necessity of a single mother that I was around one of law enforcement's BFFs, like Uncle Joey or any of their other BFFs. And it wasn't by choice in the first place, and it wasn't a crime. It was only things that were bad, that were considered bad, that could have been said. It has blame. I know it has blame, but that blame does not go to me or my mother. My mother would, first of all, there's no crime. But I understand that there's blame for anything even remotely considered bad that could have been said around me as a child. First of all, there is no crime, but there is blame. The blame does not go to either me or my mother. My mother, I can guarantee you, would not be present in that setting in the first place when I was a child being adult supervised. Same reason I was signed up at the PAL Center. She needed someone to adult supervise me, and that happened to be law enforcement's BFF since 2001, like Uncle Joey. So basically, anything even remotely considered bad said around me as a child would carry blame. It would carry a lot of blame. but that blame does not go to the child. It doesn't go to the single mother either. It goes to the person like Uncle Joey who would have said it, and law enforcement who knew about it and never cared a thing about it except for running sex games with Uncle Joey. Since then, till this very day today, or money fraud with their other BFFs that they have. It carried blame, but not to my mother since she was at work, and that was the only point of me even being there as a child. It carried blame for the person who said it, and it carried blame for law enforcement for knowing about it and doing absolutely nothing but running sex schemes since 2001 with Uncle Joey's in-laws, due to which they have to give Uncle Joey governor's protocol and money fraud that are still being run till this very day today. Law enforcement has done nothing but run sex schemes and money fraud, which is why I'm so puzzled as to why they have so much support from the news media, considering the fact that the president's told them over and over again to investigate the wedding crime. They have not done it. Instead, I would find out that they were asked to do it because they would put the cartoon president on my YouTube saying these people don't know what they're doing. I can guarantee if my dad, the greedy farmer, was living in the US before 2011, these people would not be caught going to terror groups. They would be in terror groups, and they would have committed a lot of mass murder. That we would have had carnage, we would have had problems, and my dad would have had a death toll associated with his face if he was in the US, is how they've treated investigations. There was never any investigation done on anything, no crimes whatsoever. They made fun of people that asked them to investigate crimes like the wedding crime. They never investigated the thing. They never did any work whatsoever. So yes, my dad, the greedy farmer, is only asking me, trying to force me to go to him due to the greed and envy for money. He's a criminal who's banned in multiple countries. He's a bad parent who's been asking me to commit incest with multiple people in exchange for illegal assurances of money. And every single thing that he said about me was a lie. Early January, he almost gave me a death sentence with his lies that were already confessed to being lies to the government informant before November 20th. The man is a criminal fabricator. He's a criminal terrorist, and he is a criminal who's been trying to get money from my brain savant, that artificial intelligence I promised, through things like incest. He was offering incest with his sisters. He offered it with his ugly old wife, and then right now he offered it with his in-laws before finding out that those in-laws weren't even willing to sleep with me in the first place. Well, anyways, he is not the kind of person that would deserve anyone at all. He's only doing this out of extreme greed and out of extreme envy. And my mother has had no history of anything bad, not even one thing even remotely considered bad, saying anything about anyone or their religion. That thing about yelling at people, wishing you a happy new year. My mother loves people of other religion. She loves their religion, she loves their customs, she loves their holidays, she loves every single thing about them. If it's Christmas time, she's begging me to take her somewhere for Christmas. If it's the girl that's Jewish that I tell her about, she's telling me that she loves that girl before she's even my wife. This is the kind of person that my mother is. She's never uttered one word considered bad her entire life. She's been watched 24/7 since I was an 11-year-old child. If law enforcement tries to argue that it's due to her being low IQ, dumb, stupid, you have to understand the fact that my mother fulfilled the